Living Local presents Biz Buzz 413 with your host, Jill Monson.
And before we get started with today's episode of Biz Buzz 413, a couple quick thank you shout outs. Tiger Web Designs, thanks for making us look awesome on the World Wide Web. A thank you to my company, Pop More, confidence coaching and training done differently. And of course, a huge thank you to livinglocal413.org. Welcome in. It is another edition of Biz Buzz 413. I'm your host, Jill Monson, and I love today. Today we're doing another Beyond the Biz Card, and I can't wait. So, of course, Biz Buzz 413 is part of Living Local 413, and it's an initiative that Bill Cole founded. It's a nonprofit, and we strive to serve all of the 413 and really fuel this local success, right? There's this heartbeat, if you will, and we want to make sure that all the heartbeat is beating as one, and we're working really hard on that, innovative strategies and really meaningful connections and making accessible resources, available. So we're working on that. And through that, we created the podcast. And I wanted to do something that took us a little deeper. So not just talking about the business or the nonprofit, but rather talking about the individual who's running that business or running that nonprofit or just doing great things in our community, all the unique people out throughout the 413. So we created Beyond the Biz Card. And what we're doing is we're really trying to dig in and find out what makes the awesomeness so awesome. And so if you have an idea for someone you want to put forward for the Beyond the Biz Card or the show in general, please feel free to email me. You can do so. It's BizBuzz, and that's B-I-Z, 1Z, Buzz, 2Zs. So BIZBUZZ, BizBuzz at livinglocal413.org. And today, I'm so excited. So today I'm doing Beyond the Biz Card with, I'm just going to say it, the girl who I always wanted to be in high school, literally, Annie Keinath, owner of Juicy Cakes by Annie. Hi, Annie.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me on. You're so sweet.
No, seriously, people think what is she talking about? So I'm not going to give the year we graduated, although people can do the math because I tell them all the time I just turned 50. But Annie and I graduated East Longmeadow, woo, Spartans, right? And you were the girl. Annie was the popular girl. Let's just put it out there. And you're still a knockout. It's not fair. How you're supposed to be a knockout in high school and get ugly. That's what they told me would happen. It didn't happen. You stayed pretty. It's not okay. But no, you were never.
Thank you.
you were never. I want to point this out. You were never the mean girl. You weren't. You weren't you didn't bully me. You weren't mean. We just didn't run in the same circles. But I always saw you and thought wow, that's the girl, right? And I guess I knew something because that girl has turned into the woman and raised great kids. But in particular, I want to shout out your daughter, Ayden-Maeve Bradley, who is the one who kind of rekindled our connection.
Absolutely. She is. She's amazing. Yeah.
So tell everybody how I ran into Ayden-Maeve, because this is a funny one.
Oh, so my daughter, Ayden-Maeve, recently graduated from Western New England University. And she came home one day and she said, Mom, we had this amazing guest speaker in, she's a marketing major. So in her, one of her, I believe it was a Brenda Garten course. Yeah. And she said she was so inspiring and she talked all about her past and what has gotten her to where she is today. And I was blown away. She said that she had goosebumps while you were talking. She was so inspired by everything that you had to say. Well,
she's a bright young lady, so you did good.
Thank you. And so she's, talking about this guest speaker, and I at this point have no idea who she's referring to. And she says, so at the end, we connected and we started talking about our personal lives. And she said she lives in East Longmeadow and I live in East Longmeadow. And then she was like, well, maybe you went to school with my mom. And the whole connection came completely full circle. And she said, oh, maybe you know my mom. My mom is Annie Keinath. And I think you had said something to the class like, her mom was that girl.
Yeah, her mom was that girl, not the mean bully, but the popular. Yeah, her mom was. Yep.
And Ayden-Maeve was so embarrassed. was so embarrassed.
I love it.
She was like, "Oh my God, Mom, you were that girl." I mean, like, I don't think of myself as that girl. I always grew up in school. Even in junior high school, I was bullied a bit because of some things that I did outside of school. And so I made it always a mission of mine to befriend everyone. And I thought that was super important. Like, you never single anybody out. You always smile and you're kind to everyone. And I'm just glad that I've raised two kids that have that same, mindset and care for the
all
people.
I thought was afterwards, like, oh, did I say anything? Like, you know what I mean? And it's a good reminder to the people listening, right? You always want to be careful of what you're saying because you never actually know who's around and who's in the room. Here's this kid of this girl I went to school with that I could have said something bad. I had nothing to say that was bad, but it could have happened that way. And yikes, that would have been awkward. But yeah, so the cool part too is that then fast forward, I've tried to stay in touch with her because I think she's remarkable. I think she's the breaks the stereotype of the generation, behind us. And so she emails me and she says, "Hey, I've got this idea for a guest." She said, "My mom, for about 20 years now has been running this bakery. However, just, a little over a year ago, opened it as a storefront. And more recently, you just kind of moved beyond having your full-time plus your full-time job, meaning, your paycheck job and your entrepreneurial job." And so she also said that this podcast may be slightly out of your comfort zone.
Well, she knows that I don't really I'm very much a perfectionist. Yes. But I don't necessarily like talking about myself very much as you might find that strange, but I really don't. I tend to be a little bit embarrassed. I guess maybe it has come with age. I think I used to be a little more confident than I am now.
Oh, stop. Well, on the side, when I'm not, biz buzzing it up, my side hustle, no, my career, my company is called Pop More, and I am a confidence coach. And I think we all have amazingly beautiful things in us. And all we need to do is just find a way to authentically let them shine. So maybe to make you not feel so awkward, I'll search and find a picture from high school and put it with this podcast. What about that?
Please don't.
Hey, I know I had some really big hair. So, all right.
I did too.
Let's jump in. I want you to begin. I want to know, again, it's beyond the biz card. So I want to know more about Annie, but I do want to start with, tell me more about Juicy Cakes by Annie, because, people could say, well, there's a million bakeries. So why Juicy Cakes by Annie? What made you want to do this? What makes you a little different? Tell me about you.
So this all started, like you had mentioned, 20 plus years ago. I was always a cook and a baker. And I think I got that from both of my grandmothers, not necessarily from my mother. My mother worked all the time and really didn't have time to cook. But when I had my children, I decided to just quit my job altogether and stay home for about 8 years. And I loved everything about being a mom. I would make all their own baby food. I made Ayden-Maeve dresses. I would sew.
Yeah, this doesn't surprise me.
Yeah. So I just loved that element. Right. And so it really started with my kids because I would make cakes for their birthdays and cupcakes for their birthdays. And I remember one of the most funny things that always comes up in my head is that Ayden-Maeve was turning 4 and she said, "I want a cake that looks like me." And I said, what do you mean you want a cake that looks like you? She goes, "I want it to be my face." And I thought, how am I going to make a cake that looks like my daughter? So I ended up buying like a Disney princess cake pan at the time. This is, eons ago. And I changed the hair color from, what it was supposed to be her hair color, her eye color. So I tried as best I could to make it look like her. And I feel like that was kind of the beginning of my story is because
I love that.
Yeah, because every parent that came to the party loved the cake and loved the way the cake tasted. And I always did everything, made everything with my own recipes. So it wasn't like I was just buying, boxed cake and cans of frosting, right? I concocted my own special vanilla buttercream that there are very few people that know the recipe. That's why I've become like the buttercream queen, because I have people that just come in and want to buy frosting at this point.
I love that.
Yeah. So that's really where it started. It started just, making these cakes for my kids and then my kids' friends. And every time there was an event, a birthday party, an anniversary party, I was just called upon to make the cake. And so that's really how it started. And I think it's funny because there's a lot of people that see that I've only been open here about a little over a year. So they think I'm new, right, to this bakery scene. Yeah. But I've really been doing this, I was a home-based baker for 20 years.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it's always been my dream to have my own storefront, but we all know how expensive everything is in the world, and leases and rents and everything is just so expensive. But I got to the point that, I was like, I'm going to be turning 50 and, why not try this? I always say you miss 100% of the chances you never take in life.
Yeah, baby. I love that.
And
you got it.
If I don't try this now, I am going to live the rest of my life wondering if I would have made it happen.
Mm-hmm. So I do have to say one of the things that and this is not a formal question and I'm not even looking for an answer, but you're one of those people, like I said, you were the girl in high school, gorgeous, like, smart, funny, all the things. Anyway, but that's a trauma. I'll deal with it. I'll unpack another day. But you're still skinny and you own a cupcakes and cake shop. It's not okay. Anyway, so
my kids are in my family taste test everything. I actually have celiac disease. So I can't eat 90% of what I make anyway.
Okay. I feel a little better now.
Yeah. So, but don't feel bad for me because it's all good. Like I'm not like the sweet tooth kid. Do you know what I mean? Like I would rather have something savory.
So that's a whole nother debate, I'm telling you. So, all right, here we go. Some Biz Buzz behind the scenes questions. Describe yourself in 3 words.
Ooh.
I mean, you've always been short on words, so I'm just kidding.
So I would say I'm very motivated. I'm very artistic and I am very much people oriented. I know that's 3 words, but I'm a people person.
Yeah, I can see that about you. And I definitely can see the motivation. I've watched you over the years. So I think that's awesome. We're going to go to what's something that you think people are always surprised to learn about you?
I think that they're surprised to know that this was not my full-time job. I was working in corporate America for basically my whole adult career and was doing the baking, out of my home and on the side. And so when I opened the storefront a little over a year ago, a lot of people thought I was new to this, cakes and cupcakes, but I've actually been doing it for, like I said earlier, over 20 years. So I think when a lot of people hear that, they're like, oh, how you just opened, how long have you been doing this? And when I say I've been doing it for 20 years, they're like, oh my goodness, you've been doing this a really long time. But I think that's, what a lot of small businesses, right? People start really small and most small businesses start right out of your house.
And you people forget that, like, a lot of times the entrepreneur themselves forgets, like they quote, make it big, or they make it into their shop. And then they forget what it was like to be making the cake around the, kid doing their homework on the, there's all those. And it's interesting because we talked a little bit off air, and I don't want to call anybody out, but we were talking just about generations and how, if you think about it, you and I are exactly the same age, having gone to school together. And then, we have our parents' generation. And then now I don't have any children, but I have nephews and you have your children, and how, our parents' generation, and even beyond that, our grandparents' generation, the entrepreneurial thing, it's not that it wasn't there, but it was very risky. And so a lot of that falls on us, and we're kind of like, so I imagine it was probably pretty hard. You had this great, you had a good job. I don't know if it was great, but you had a great job that had, benefits and all the things, right? The world we live in, health insurance. And all of a sudden you're like, I think I want to bake cakes. And they're like, oh, no, Annie, just bake cakes on the weekend, right? Like, it's hard.
Exactly. Yeah, it is. And it was very stressful, and it was a a huge leap to take. There were a lot of people in my life that were not on board with this. And you were right. Like, I did have a wonderful job in corporate America. I was paid very well, had wonderful benefits. But I am a true believer in making ourselves, we are responsible for fulfilling ourselves, and we are responsible for our own happiness. And this is what brings me joy. This is what brings me happiness. And I think I got to the point in my life that, I'm 50 years old. I said, I don't want to answer to anybody anymore. I want to do my own thing. I want to be my own boss. And I know it's hard. And I know the journey is not going to be easy, but it's going to be one that's going to fulfill me in a way.
Well, and I think it's interesting. I can't even remember now if it was last week or the week before, but recently I talked to Pam Victor from Happier Valley Comedy, and they're celebrating their 10th anniversary, and she was saying that when she started, her goal was like she gave herself, and I'm gonna lose track now, but I think it was like she gave herself a year to make X amount of money, and if she hit that, then she could go. And she hit that number in 6 months, which was terrific, right? And not all of us do that, but I'm not saying like not everyone has the ability to become the entrepreneur that they dream to be. So they need to do that side hustle for a while, like you did, to be able to have that stability. You probably were pretty good. You saved up your money from the full-time job so that you're now in this position, right? And I think what's interesting is that when we say, I turned 50, that used to be, I turned 50, I'm going to do what I'm doing now and retire because I'm old, quote. And I put that in air quotes. The difference being now is 50 is the beginning. Like this is like, you have a lot of living left. And so it's not like you have to stick if you're unhappy, I guess is my, anyway. So what's one lesson that by the way, this is Annie Keinath from Juicy Cakes by Annie, in case you don't know. What's one lesson that you've learned, what you would consider learned the hard way, that you kind of now live by?
That you are responsible for your own success in life. What you invest, you reap. I have a quote in my bakery that I had put up. It was the first thing I did after I painted the walls. And it says, I will give you more than what you ask for. Be patient and trust me. And that's Ephesians 3:20. And I say that to myself every day because I truly believe that. And, I believe that what I invest in, all of the hard work that it was so difficult, Jill, to start this business on my own. I'm a single mom, working 2 full-time jobs, trying to take on all of the expenses of a new startup business. And there were many nights I was crying and many nights I didn't sleep, that I said, what am I doing? Am I making a mistake by doing this? So, I think what I have learned truly from this, the last 18 months is that, that you can do it. Like, if you believe in yourself, and I know that is such a cliche for people to say, if you believe it, you can do it. But I'm truly an example of that. I believed in myself. I believed I could do this. And was it hard? Yes, it was so hard. And there were times that I was considering giving up. And I'm so glad I didn't, because the success that I've seen in the past, 15 months, it is over and above what I had ever anticipated. I had made financial goals for myself, and I based them off of a 3-year plan. And I'm a year in, and I'm able to leave my real job, right? My real quote.
Yeah, I love that. The real job. But, which half of the day did you work? You worked half day at one job and half day at the other. It's just which 12 hours, right? Exactly. So, one thing I think that was really powerful, you had said, I was a single mom, or I am a single mom because your kids are still alive. They're not little, but you're a single mom, and my mom was a single mom. And I think a lot about my character. And I think knowing your daughter, Ayden-Maeve, I see what you were able to give her as such a gift, because I see that my mom gave that to me. And so, like, just a quick shout out to, and not just the single moms, but also the single dads or single parent, because sometimes it's an aunt raising a child, but that household that's doing it, because you might not think you're there. Like, you're like, oh, I had to miss the soccer game, and you're bummed, right? But you're giving your kids so much more than just being on the sideline. Not that there's anything wrong with being on the sideline, but there is different ways of parenting and guardianing children. And And I think that, obviously you've done an exceptional job. So I have one more question, and then because we're going to run out of time and I'm already going long and I don't want to make it two parts because then they'll get mad at me. But so I want to ask you before we go to rapid fire, who's someone in the 413 in our community that you admire and why?
There are so many people in the area that I admire for so many varying reasons. So it's hard for me to pinpoint any one person. Like I could say,
are you running for office? That's a politician.
Oh, absolutely not.
Come on.
I am not a politician at all. But I will say, like, I admire all of the strong women out there. And
Absolutely.
I don't need to group everyone together, but just to tag on to what you were saying in your previous phrasing, I sometimes step back, and even though I'm exhausted and I'm working so much, I am showing my kids, who are the next generation of leaders, what that hard work looks like. And I'm showing them that you are responsible for your success. You should not have to rely on other people to make you happy. You shouldn't have to rely on anyone else financially. You should be your own person, and you should be responsible for making yourself happy, successful, and financially independent. And that is one thing that I'm just so proud that I am being an example of to both of my kids. And that's another reason why I can do this now. Both of my children are grown adults. They're both employed full time. My daughter,
which is so wild to me, because I'm like, how can that be? And I'm still, because I don't have kids, so I forget that, like, wow, we're old enough to have kids. You could act like we could actually have grandkids if
grandkids.
So speaking of kids,
I was just so proud of my daughter. She got her full-time job, 6 months before even graduating. So by the time she graduated from college, she was working full-time, had benefits. My son is in the military. So, it's
shout out. What branch is he in?
He's in the Air Force.
Shout out. That's like awesome. I tell him I appreciate his service. Send this to him and all his buddy troops. You were speaking of kids, and real quick, I wanted to congratulate you because I work with Head Start, Holyoke, Chicopee, Springfield Head Start, and they had their 60th anniversary, and 3 different bakers contributed cakes. And then I can't eat cake because I don't do sugar, but the staff, all of the Head Start staff had samples of the cake, and then they voted. And I was there watching the voting, and they did like live voting. It was the coolest, like technology. And Juicy Cakes, I believe you won. Is that correct? Yes. Woo!
Yes. Yeah, I won. I was so excited. And I remember that week I was so busy working both full-time jobs. And I was just so exhausted in the moment that the woman from Head Start called me and told me that I won. I won for taste, presentation, and overall awesomeness. Yep. I was in tears. I was sitting in my bakery sweating because I think it was like May or June.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, yep.
And I was sweating, and I just started crying. And I was like, I need to call somebody to share this.
I was so happy. Like, I couldn't tell anybody. I was like, oh, I know her. I couldn't, and I didn't vote. But yeah. All right. So we're gonna wrap, but we're gonna wrap with what I like to call our rapid fire round. So these are kind of the fun, fast favorites. Okay. And so you don't know all of them. I don't even know if I sent you any of them in advance. I can't remember because I do this volunteer. So, but here we go. So you just, whatever comes to your mind. It's not, so this is just quick. All right. What's your favorite? Vanilla or chocolate cake?
Chocolate.
Ooh, favorite frosting?
Blueberry buttercream.
Oh, you just made my heart go pitter patter. Okay. What's the first concert or live event you ever attended?
Oh God, I think the first concert I went to was like the Pointer Sisters. I know that's going to totally age us, but do you remember that?
I was looking up the Pointer Sisters, right? Oh, I'm so excited. Yes, I remember them. All right. Your favorite local 413 spot to grab a bite or relax?
I love Lola's in Longmeadow.
Oh, yay. That's a great spot. What's your go-to comfort meal when no one's watching?
This is going to sound so bland, but I love rice. I love white rice. I know that
rice, just white rice. Okay.
I love white rice. Yeah.
Okay. Yep. Yeah, that is. All right. So what's the weirdest compliment you ever received?
I don't even know.
That you're that girl.
I guess, yes. I'm going to use that one, but I'm not, girl.
All right, a little behind the scenes from your work life. What's the most non-glamorous part of your job that people might not realize?
Oh my goodness. So, well, like right now, I'm not wearing any makeup. And when I am baking,
What? Wait. Back up, pause, rewind. You guys can't see her. I'm gonna take a picture. Hold on, smile. Hold on. Smile for a second. There we go. I'm taking the picture. I'm not on camera, and she's on camera, and she's telling me she's wearing no makeup, and she looks freaking beautiful. Go on.
Thank you. Okay. You're too kind. You're too kind. But truly, like when I am not baking, I love to get dressed up and I love to do my hair and I love to wear jewelry and accessories and look really nice. But when I am at the bakery, I have my hair on top of my head, no makeup on. I'm wearing overalls or sweats. I have frosting all over me.
I love it.
I look just like a hot mess, but it's all about the creation that I'm making. So
That's awesome.
I care very little about what the exterior looks like of me.
Well, the exterior looks lovely. So two last rapid fire. If you were a season, which one would you be and why?
Oh, summer. I love summer. I love the beach. I love heat. I love laying by the pool. So, yeah.
All right. And last but not least, if your life had a soundtrack, what's the opening track?
Yikes. I don't know. That's hard.
All right. I'm going to let you mull on it because sometimes you don't have it. And you know what you do? You email me when you think about it and I'll make sure we shout it out. Okay.
All right.
Does that work? And maybe it's I'm so excited by the Pointer Sisters.
Maybe. You know what? Let's just go with that. Yes.
With that, all right.
I'm so excited.
So do me a favor, just before we wrap, tell everyone where is Juicy Cakes located and what's the website? And can they order on the website? How does it all work? You tell people how to find you.
So you can find us via our website, which is www.juicykakesbyannie.com. We have links to all of our social media pages on our website, and we have Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Pinterest. You can message us on any of our social media platforms and place orders that way. You can also call or text the phone number that's on the website. And our storefront is located at 641 North Main Street in East Longmeadow, Massachusetts. I call it my little slice of heaven. It's a tiny little shop, but everything is pink and everything's girly. And it looks like you're walking into a little French bakery.
And I'm definitely coming by because, when I'm in the 01028, you got to stop by Juicy Cakes for sure. Thank you so much. This is Biz Buzz 413. I am your host, Jill Monson, with my high school colleague, my high school teammate, Annie Keinath, owner of Juicy Cakes by Annie, the Beyond the Biz Card Series. A special shout out and thank you to her daughter, Ayden-Maeve Bradley, for reconnecting Annie and I after all these years. The Beyond the Biz Card Series is where we're chatting with people just like we did today, just chatting and trying to get behind the awesomeness of all the great people throughout the 413. So short of me interviewing everybody at the East Longmeadow High School class, I need other people. So feel free to email me. You can get the email on our website. What we're going to do next, hopefully, fingers crossed, if everything works, in studio, I'm going to have a conversation with the Young Professional Society about their first ever summit that they're having here in the 413. So we've got a lot of great things on the agenda. So stay tuned, stay with us. I know this one went long. Too bad. I had my high school, that girl, and I was too excited to not do it. So thanks for being here, Annie.
Thank you so much. It was great.
It was awesome. First podcast ever you did, right?
Yes, first podcast ever.
I got to be that experience. That means more than you know. Thanks, everybody. This is Biz Buzz 413. And as I always close with, just remember, when you wake up in the morning and when you go to bed at night, know that you're laying your head or rising in the best part of the country possible, right here in the 413.
Biz Buzz 413 was brought to you by Living Local.